do you think like Billy learned like Judaism?
I was wondering that too, because I was like, okay, so Billy's not Jewish, but I'm guessing
William
he just
is,
right, and he just like assimilated into this world.
Well,
kind
I
of
was like,
thing.
I'm glad that happened right after his bar mitzvah, where he had to memorize the Torah section. Like that'd be embarrassing if you were like, hey, I don't what. Hi, I'm Alex.
I'm Madison.
And this is Welcome to the Writer's Room, the show where we analyze media in various forms and tell you why it works or why it doesn't.
Today we're talking about Agatha All Along, episode 6, titled Familiar by Thy Side.
Quick spoiler warning before we get into it. This is a Marvel property, so potential spoilers for anything in the extended Marvel Cinematic Universe, comics, other movies, fan theories, everything is up for grabs. You've been warned.
Okay, let's do a summary. I feel like this one's long, but that's okay.
So much happened. Okay, 3, 2, 1, Domine.
In this revealing episode of Agatha All Along, we finally get a lot of answers surrounding Teen. Starting with 3 years ago, William Kaplan is celebrating his bar mitzvah, where he sees a palm reader who happens to be Lilia. She casts the sigil on William and immediately forgets who he is. During the celebration, there is an emergency alert and everyone rushes to get home. William is riding in the car with his parents as they see a red bubble being cast over the entire town, this being Wanda's spell. The car crashes, hitting a tree, and William Kaplan's heart goes out and he dies, only to immediately wake back up saying Tommy. William, who is now truly Billy Maximoff, although he doesn't know it, is rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with amnesia. He learns he can now read minds and decides he will continue on as William Kaplan. 3 years later, William and his boyfriend Eddie are on the hunt to find out who William really is. They meet up with the man who played Wanda's brother in WandaVision, and he tells them about Agatha Harkness. While researching Agatha, William learns about the Witch's Road and decides to unspell Agatha so she can help him. We now see episode 1 through Teen's eyes, including the break-in, the chase, and the interrogation. Then flash forward to Agatha and Teen on the Witch's Road. The two argue, and Agatha realizes Teen's true intentions are to find Tommy, his brother. Begrudgingly, Teen, or Billy, decides to continue on with Agatha as he struggles to use his powers. The episode ends with the two continuing down the road while Teen claims he is also not a nice person.
1 minute, 18 seconds. Not bad.
Okay. I was really excited. I thought this might be a flashback episode because, of course, that's what they're going to do when they have this big reveal.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started and I literally wrote, oh, it's a fucking flashback.
I said that too. I was very excited. You definitely called it. I really like this episode. It was so different from how the other episodes have been, but I really
think that's
liked
good.
it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
So it starts out, I'll say William, I guess. William Kaplan, because that's like who he is right now, is at his bar mitzvah. And it just starts with him getting ready. His parents are there and they're like walking and doing the ceremony. He's singing the prayer. It's one really pretty singing.
He had a very pretty voice.
Right. And it's this like slow-mo flashback of basically him and his family and everyone he's closest to celebrating in this ceremony, in this bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I wrote down this feels like a Call Me by Your Name, like indie movie,
right? With
the music and the slow mo, and I was like, wow, he really doesn't belong. And I thought like without the buildup of the character, we would have already gotten like if you would have opened on this, I would have laughed my way out of Netflix to watch this. You know what I'm saying?
Because you feel like it was like cheesy.
Yeah, but it's like it fit really well because you already know these characters, and it's got the overarching umbrella of solving the mystery, right? So I think they took a creative risk by doing something so like in a vacuum cheesy, but I think it actually worked really well.
I think so too, especially because the idea is they need to quickly show this is not the same person that we've been with the whole time. And I thought they did a really good job because this world is just different.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. I also for all my notes, I still wrote down Teen because that's what I
yeah,
like
we
know
can
him
call
as.
him Teen. I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me.
I just think he did a phenomenal job acting this episode.
Yeah.
Like he's always done a great job, but like to be these two characters, intermingling the two characters, like this episode was really all on him, and I think he absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. Then they do this cool flashback or flash forward, really. So it's they're going behind him as he's reading the Torah, right? And they go behind him and they transition using that movement to him like on the dance floor dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cute, and it's a really cute party. Everyone's dancing. They made these parents from the beginning the sweetest parents you could ever see in the world.
Yeah.
And part of doing that kind of made the episode feel really sad. And I think that was a purposeful choice.
Mm-hmm.
But the parents just seemed to like absolutely love this kid. And it made the episode feel more emotional.
Yeah, I think they did lay on the relationships thick, but they had very little time to do so. So I get it.
Yeah, I think I liked it. I thought it was a strong choice to tell the audience very quickly, like, you're supposed to like these characters.
Family, yeah.
Yes, exactly. This is kind of a tragic thing that's about to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
It was very wholesome. And he goes into the palm reading tent, which I thought was really funny. I don't know, to have like in a religious gathering.
I was curious. I was like, is this a magic thing he's making up right now? Or...
That's so funny. But now that I'm thinking back to it, I can totally see like something happening like that at a church, being like, this will be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely feel like that happened when I was in high school, the churches that were like around the area.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is kind of funny to me.
There's a lot of like mysticism in the Jewish religion as well.
This being Lilia, which I mean, it's a palm reader, so like I saw it, like I knew it was gonna be her when we saw the palm reading, but it was still just absolutely wild to find out she was the one that put the sigil on him.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
I feel like no one called that.
Well, hold on. I'm a little confused on this.
Okay.
I feel like she made the sigil for her to forget him. Is that the main sigil?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the sigil.
Okay.
So she reads his palm and she said there's going to be a long journey of great transformation. And she tells him his lifeline is broken in two. The lights flicker. And it's clear that she is like actually seeing. I don't know how much she saw, but it's clear like she saw enough to feel like it's a problem. She says the tower reversed, which I don't know very much about tarot cards, but I'm going to look it up so I can see what that means here. So this reverse is personal transformation, fear of change, averting disaster is the tower when it's reversed. Interesting. I feel like all these cards are like right along with the story, but I think it's still really cool. And he leaves his jacket in the room, and that's where she marks a wooden block with the symbol, which is the sigil on it. She puts it in his jacket. And I think in doing so, she immediately forgets him.
That's I guess like, because he's also been drawing that sigil beforehand, right? We go back to his place and he looks at the piece and he sees all his drawings.
No, I think what that was later after the 3 years. So he's been using that to try to piece together who he is.
I see. Okay. I don't know. I was just a little confused. I thought Lilia did it specifically to herself to forget. And then I thought, the whole time I was thinking Wanda probably put it on him. Or once we saw that, I was like, oh, maybe he put it like on himself to like hide his
That's what I
power
thought.
or whatever. So yeah, I can buy that Lilia did it. I was just confused.
Well, why do you think she did it? I mean, we don't know how much she saw of the future.
Yeah, and I can buy like why she would do it. I was like just actually following what was happening. I was confused. Maybe like seeing the M go over again, because to me it was almost like two separate things. And I know it was the same like sigil drawing. It just like, I don't know. We saw it like interact in different ways. Which,
yeah,
like,
I see what you mean. Okay.
I don't know.
I feel
maybe
like
I was just
got
slow
it.
on it.
No.
I don't know.
They could have done some sort of shot of him like holding the wooden block above him the right way and then turning it over so you see the sigil like literally over his mouth.
Yeah.
Like a shot of that might have been really cool to like key in
cool.
the audience that this is what this is.
Yeah, and maybe I just was not sure, and I wrote down like, oh, so Lilia made the sigil, but I was like questioning it more than like, oh, that's crazy.
That makes sense. I got it. I was like, I thought that was absolutely wild that it ends up being her, and I would guess she's doing that to protect him and maybe protect herself.
Maybe.
Which I so badly, I feel like I'm going to go rewatch Agatha All Along, at least leading up before the finale. I might do it this week because she's the one that like tells him what the sigil is and what a sigil does and that kind of thing. So it's just,
yeah,
I'm wondering
a
how
lot
many
of good foreshadowing for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many clues there were that it was her.
I also want to track what all these tarot cards have been saying, because I'm sure some of them are like on the nose, like the one in this episode, but I bet it might be giving things away if you know what's up.
I think they're pretty on the nose. Someone commented about it. Like in one episode, she said to Jen, the high priestess, this was episode 2, which generally represents, I'm reading someone's YouTube comment, by the way. This is
on our video. Oh, whoa. Shout out to the commenter.
And okay, hold on, let me read there. Sorceress Ultimecia 5238. It's like in this episode when he's like Mr. Boner Man or whatever is really his funny. Reddit.
Shout out, thanks for leaving comments.
So they said that Jen's card was the High Priestess, which generally represents intuition and wisdom. The next card is Agatha's when they're trying to heal Teen in episode 4, which was 3 of Swords, which typically represents extreme grief. And finally, in this episode, Lilia calls Alice's card when she jumps in to protect Agatha, Knight of Wands, which generally represents daring to face a challenge. And they said this is very summarized, but that's really cool that
I like that.
I don't feel like it's like a deeper meaning. I feel like it's just a storytelling device.
Cool. I'm down.
Like, I don't think it's a clue or a secretive thing. I think it's just adding to the story.
Yeah.
So there's an emergency alert in Westview, and they clear out the space, and we transition to them riding home, and we see, well, actually first on the radio. This was cool because we rewatched like the first couple episodes of WandaVision, and the radio turns on and you hear these lines from WandaVision, like the first episode. She says, "You and your indestructible head," or something like that. It's directly from WandaVision. And really cool. They see the red barrier being created, and then they crash into a tree. And this crash was like intense. I thought it was whatever effects they used, however they did it, I thought it was really well done. Yeah,
and everything up to this moment has been played really serious. Like, it does give off like an indie coming of age sort of movie. Which I think plays well because we are already attached to the character.
Right.
So you don't need to try to win us over. So seeing them in this not silly, not goofy environment, just really like put me in the mindset to like, oh, this is like for real, you know?
No, I agree. And I almost think they weren't like spoofing something, but it feels very much that they had chosen a specific style, which is what they've done every episode so far.
I also put that down, yeah.
And so I feel like this like coming of age indie teen film is what they chose for this episode about Teen and his sort of how he became Billy Maximoff and that kind of thing and where he got here. I think that was a really cool choice. I
think it was a cool choice. And I like how as we got closer to figuring out what happened, as he like became more Billy, it did get goofier, but not in like a silly way. In like the tone of Agatha All Along started coming back.
Right.
And it sort of culminated for me when he was replaying episode 1 from his perspective. And we just see all these like funny moments that weren't in the end. I was like, okay, we're back, you know?
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
I felt like it almost mirrored the first episode on purpose. Like you're supposed to feel this dramatic changing of and building to something, and then we get to what episode 1 is for him, and that was sort of like her. It felt mirrored it. He's almost putting pieces together just like Agatha was. Yeah. I thought it was really cool. It also, just when Agatha being introduced, like the comedy ramping up and it becoming funny, I thought was a really cool change. And I don't know, just she's so funny, you know, like they did such a good job. But when we get there, we can talk more about it. So they crash, and I don't think we've even heard his name yet until this moment. They start calling him William, which I just thought was interesting because we don't need that information.
I think they called him William earlier.
Okay.
I wrote that down earlier, but it wasn't like harped upon.
Okay.
I was also thinking because like Billy is short for William, right?
Right. So but I think that's like, on purpose.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
No, I thought that was cool too because that is I just remember still being his
like,
name.
What does it mean? I was like, it's probably literally just a name.
And I thought the sound design of this was really cool. So it's like kind of music, but it's also a heartbeat. And I feel like anytime I hear a heartbeat in movies or in theater or in shows, I'm like, oh, this again. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's so cheesy. Yeah. But I was like, how do they do this and it was still intense and not cheesy?
I think it was intense because they leaned into it. Like, okay. I wrote this down too. The music is lifting these scenes. Like, from the very beginning, he's like reading the Torah, but it's this like ethereal, plucky synth thing. And again, like any other context, it would make me laugh how over the top it is.
Which is sort of the same vibe as like the first episode of Agatha All Along when she's in her place,
which is just fun how they can like play with their own context to make it, because I don't think they wanted this to be a parody, but like you said, definitely like they were going for a very specific style that is again really hard to do right, and I think they did a really good job. And I think a big part of that is the complete changing of the score of this episode. It was super fitting, super strong, really in your face. Like there was constant music happening.
That's a good point. I also think part of the heartbeat working here is because it was literal. Like his heart was literally stopping, and they used the sound and the music to show you he had died. And then it's slowing. He literally dies, and then the heartbeat comes back to life. Like it's very, very cool. We hear the "Good night, Tommy, good night, Billy," and that's when he wakes up and the heartbeat starts back again, and he says Tommy, which this was crazy. So then Alice is the cop that the parents flagged down, and she walks in, which I don't know if this was just supposed to be like fun that we saw all of them, or if it's supposed to feel purposeful.
I don't know. I'm still sticking with my fate, destiny, prophecy thing.
I feel like you're right.
Alice said she was a cop. It was really cute seeing Jennifer. Damn it. It was really cute seeing Jen in like the YouTube ad or whatever. I don't think it necessarily means much more, but it was just really cute, and it to me really solidified that everybody's sort of locked in together. Their fates
are wound together. But the only thing, because that's what I thought too, when Alice came and then we see Jen later, I was like, okay, so these people are all meant to continue working together. They were destined to go on this, and the Ballad of the Witch's Road really is a prophecy all about them. But in the end of this episode, Lily and Jen aren't there. So I'm worried.
But Rio also hasn't been there either.
That's
true.
Like,
I think everybody's going to like come back or something. Okay. Or it's like, I don't know. The song says if one be gone, we carry on. Like I fully expect, especially if Agatha has walked the road before, which I still don't know. But I'm totally down for it being a prophecy that like 5 people come in, 1 person comes out, you know? Like that still reads to me as like, oh, it had to be these people, but these people also had to die, you know?
Yeah.
While we're on the topic, I also wanted to say something else. I really liked, so watching WandaVision and Agatha All Along, it's a lot of people being mind controlled into things. And I thought the idea of Wanda sending like the essence of her kid into another body was like a really cool play on that also. Like Billy sort of woke up and he like had this life that he doesn't remember at all. And I just thought that was a neat parallel, sort of like this whole mythos is all about like fake worlds and living where you don't fit in and sort of like living with the grief of that. And I just thought that was really neat.
That is really neat. It goes along with it. It like goes back to the theme. Feels consistent.
Yeah.
So they're in the hospital and he like doesn't recognize himself or anyone around him, and he starts reading minds, which I guess is like a specific trait of Wiccan / Billy Maximoff, right? That was in WandaVision.
Yeah.
And this was like an instance where I felt like it was sad. It also felt like that sort of coming of age teen movie, like continuing, even when the parents are fighting and he's like, don't fight, please. And but I thought it was still effective. Like to me, I was very sad for these parents because this is like a completely different life for them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it may have been like a touch over the top. And like, I get it. We only see the mind reading twice, but like both times he starts reading the mind, and the mom specifically is like she's like, "What's up, buddy?" And in her mind, she's like, "I just want my son back." And I was like, I get it, but it was a lot every time.
But it would be a lot. Her kid doesn't remember her. I know,
I just thought it was really funny. Like,
I think that's the style they were going for.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember thinking like, that's a lot. I didn't hate it though.
I thought it was really sad and really effective. I thought it worked for me. Okay, so they discharge him and they just basically say he's fine, which I thought was kind of crazy that he's like fine.
I know, it's like, but he's got amnesia.
He technically died.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out if maybe he like healed, right?
I don't know. I mean, they said it was nothing like serious, right?
But
they said
died.
like, yeah, like people, whatever.
Nothing serious.
Whatever.
He only died.
Just looks back.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
I don't know. He could. I don't know. I don't know what Billy can do.
So they get back home. He's seeing the pictures of himself, seeing himself in the mirror. The dog even barks at him. The dog Greg.
Know, that was sad.
And then I wrote, the parents' thoughts are devastating. He's reading their minds and their like thoughts are anxious and racing. So for you to be like, this is kind of silly. And I was like,
well, I just remember like the first time he's like, because they walk into the hospital and they're sort of like bickering in their minds, right? The mom's like, oh, he's sounding dumb. And he's like, oh, she's giving me that look again. And then it immediately goes to, where's my son? I'll never get him back. And then we get to the house and the dad's like, what if he never gets better? What if this is what if this is it? What if he lives his life? And I'm like, I get it. Like those are strong feelings. They should have strong feelings. I just think it was funny in the 2 scenes we had it. They like packed those in.
Right.
Like, and there were so many thoughts flying through, which I do think was a cool way to show it. Like, I've thought about this a lot. Like, if you're going to read a mind, I don't think it's like a easy navigating sort of thing. It's its own road, if you will.
Right.
So I do like that it's sort of like cacophonous and all over the place. I just thought it was funny with how 10 out of 10 these thoughts were.
Right.
You know, which I'm not saying that's inaccurate. I just laughed a little.
Okay. I feel like it was the style of like the sad. I feel like I've seen this movie, you know?
Yeah.
But he yells, stop worrying. And he goes up to his room and he decides to go alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was cool. His room had so many really cool Easter eggs in it. And I bet there was even more, just the way they shot some of the little like panning shot. A lot of it was out of focus, but there was so many. So right away there's a poster of Alice in Wonderland, which this feels very Alice in Wonderland, the whole thing. You even said it felt that way from like episode 2 or something. And Wizard of Oz, and then he had a Houdini poster, which is like a magician. Cute. And then in the back you see these little what are they called? Trinkets, not action figures, like, but miniatures like of like the Wicked Witches there. So it's all these really cool like Easter eggs.
Yeah, which again like goes into that theme. Like WandaVision was all about Wanda making the world a sitcom. So I feel like Agatha All Along has been about teen making it Wizard of Oz, you know?
Right.
Which is just really cool.
Right. No, that is really cool. I feel like this next episode, everything is gonna sort of be flipped on its head. You know, it kind of already has, but
Rebirth,
I feel like even
baby.
We're exactly.
Waiting for it.
I feel like even more so.
This is the Abyss flashback pre-rebirth episode.
Right. He looks in the mirror and he basically says over and over, I am William Kaplan. And this moment is like him deciding this is who he's going to be. And I thought this was sad too.
Yeah. No, again, like the coming home scene, again, I have my own thoughts about their thoughts, but I thought like the actor, teen Billy Wiccan William, is really carrying it. Like, I believe his emotions every time. And I do believe the parents. Like, I think everybody's giving really strong performances, which is cool. Because again, like, I didn't expect the tone walking into Agatha All Along, and I definitely didn't expect an episode to be this sort of dry and me be so into it for a Marvel show.
No, I agree.
So that was cool. Especially like rewatching WandaVision. It's a good show, but it's very over the top, very sitcom-y. So to get to this point is just really impressive. So again, like everybody on the production, like they know what they are doing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's difficult to sort of change your style every episode. And I feel like they're really, from the design team to the directors to the actors, they're really committing each episode. It's really cool to see it come to fruition.
Cool. Yeah.
So we're 3 years later. Which he's 16 now. He was 13 then.
That's crazy.
I know, it's funny to me. He's in the car with his boyfriend Eddie, and I thought they were really cute.
Yeah,
the two
I really
of them.
liked Eddie.
I thought the writing for the both of them was very sweet and wholesome and just like very cute and well written. Like we want to like this character, and I think they did a good job of having us like this character with very little to go off of.
For sure.
So they talk about the sigil in his pocket and how he carries it around with him all the time, and it's like he's trying to solve it. And he starts reading his mind, and he's going to tell him he loves him, which again was really cute.
Very sweet.
Very sweet. And they stop, and basically Teen kind of tells him about the car accident and how things are different now, and that he's not William Kaplan. Not entirely. And he just pretended to remember for his parents. And I thought it was a great choice to have Eddie just kind of like go along immediately with it and have the character be like, okay, yeah, like that's, I don't even think that's that crazy. Let's figure this out together. Yeah. I thought that was very fun. And they go back to Teen's room, and he's got this whole layout.
This was where I was like, okay, the Agatha energy is back. Because we quick cut to him opening the door, and he literally says, I've compiled a dossier.
Right.
And I was like, okay, we're back. Like, the jokes are flying. We're having a good time. And that made me laugh a lot. Like, that was very cool.
They go to YouTube, which there's an ad with Jen on it, which was just so funny. I was like, of course, this makes so much sense for who she is.
He even says something, don't he? He's like, it's witchcraft to have skin that good or something like that.
Right. And that's really funny. They look at the red spell that Wanda put on the town, and it's got runes on it, and he immediately knows witchcraft. And they even say that the Avengers, it was an Avengers test gone wrong. So that's kind of fun to see how the world like covered this up. Yeah. And he says he found a guy on Reddit who lived there apparently, which I love Reddit right now. I feel like Reddit is so funny to me. And this was hilarious. Like, of course, if he's going to find someone, it's going to be on Reddit.
For sure. Yeah.
And so they decide to go. And this was also really fun. It's way more fun having Eddie there with him solving these things.
Yeah, someone just like bounce dialogue back and forth with. It's really good.
And it's Evan Peters who played Wanda's brother.
The Quicksilver.
What's his name? What's Wanda's brother's name? Pietro?
Yes. No. Yeah, Pietro.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm so smart.
Right.
Okay.
Which is like all kinds of crazy. Like, that's so fun because the mythos is he's Quicksilver in the newer X-Men movies. But in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, another person is Quicksilver. So for WandaVision, they cameoed him in for that episode. And now, canonically, he is just a guy. Right. Is just such a mindfuck, and I loved it.
Well, because in Agatha All Along... in WandaVision, they had him, it's Agatha that had him come up to sort of mess with Wanda and be like, your brother's back. And the way they did it was so funny because they ended the episode with him, like, knocking on the door or whatever. And so everyone went crazy with it. Everyone was like, do you know what this means? This is insane. And then the next episode or two or whatever, we find out that it's not really. He's just a random guy played by the same actor. That is so funny and like awesome. Really genius. Yeah. And he's like not doing well. He has not been adjusted to this or what has happened to him. And he kind of goes on and talks about how they couldn't move or anything and they couldn't do anything to stop it. And his basically was worse. Right, because his was Agatha specifically using him, which I've never even thought about how, because a lot of people say like how Wanda was really the villain in this town story, and that you could almost say like Agatha helped them, but she also didn't.
Yeah, well, something I wrote down like with the car crash happening earlier and in the background, like the red things happening. I really like how they are doubling and tripling down on like what a catastrophic thing Wanda did. Right. Like, this is like straight up like an act of terrorism and everybody is treating it as such, and it is wild to me. Because it is like people's lives are ruined forever. Right. You know?
Well, like the trauma of this has not left him even a little bit.
And it's cool. Like this whole thing is like world building on a really granular to massive level, you know? So now, like, again, like the show on its own stands strong. But if you go and watch these other Marvel products where they talk about like, oh, Scarlet Witch is so scary, you're like, yeah, like I know like these unnamed citizen who are like destroyed, and that to me leaves a way bigger impact than like the guy who's gonna eat a planet or something, you know?
Right. I also love Evan Peters. Like, he's one of my favorite actors. I think he's so talented.
Really good.
And he's kind of been, I think, like, personally not doing as well and like has stepped back from, well, he's fine. I just mean like he plays these crazy roles.
Oh, that's right.
You know, and he basically talked about how it's like hard, and I thought he looked really good, like healthy, even though he's playing someone that's not.
I was about to say it's almost a parody of the characters he's normally playing,
right?
Because they had jokes for him and stuff, and he's supposed to be this like twitching guy, and I'm like, I've seen you do this way more convincingly. Like, that's really funny that it's this like upped version of it,
right? Like goofy version of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Still really effective though. Like, he's great. He understood the assignment.
No, and it was really funny, and he like thinks over and over again. Don't ask about Agatha Harkness. Don't ask about, like, over and over again.
Yeah.
And Dean goes, tell me about Agatha Harkness, right? It's just silly. This is another point where we get like some more, this magic world is like goofy and jokes. It was this scene too. And he asks and the guy literally sprays them with like witch repellent.
I thought it was mace.
I thought it was mace too. I was like, he just maced these kids.
Yeah, and then it was like witch repellent. Like, that's wild. And then I'm like, do you think Jen sold that?
That's really funny. He says that he was Agatha's puppet, and she basically made him hold someone hostage and like do all these terrible things. And he brings up Billy and Tommy, Wanda and Vision's kids, and he calls them the Speedster and the Mind Reader. And this was just cool. Like, we know this. It was kind of fun to see we knew this more than the character did, whereas I feel like the past, the character has known more sometimes, and it was cool to almost see that like flipped in this episode where we knew more and we weren't sort of solving the mystery. We kind of were just learning. It was just a cool way of doing it. So Agatha is still in Westview and still under the spell, and Teen goes home and goes up to like research Agatha, but before he does, he talks to his parents a little bit, and again, I think they're really cute, and like I think it was a good move to have them like Eddie.
Well, this was crazy. Like, so he walks in, and this is after the time jump. So I was like, oh no, he's like in his goth stuff and he's dating a guy, and I'm like, oh God, his parents must like hate this
coming of age
then
film.
They walk in and they're totally chill with everything. Like, they're like, oh yeah, go crazy with your fashion. Oh, did Eddie come out? I made his favorite. And I'm like, you warped bodies into like the most stable, nice family you could have chosen.
I know.
Like, this is a fantasy, you know? It's crazy. That made me laugh so hard because they're so wholesome.
They're really cute and really
then
sweet.
inside they're like, where's my son?
Right. He's different now. He's researching them. Oh wow. Alice's mom's version of Ballad of the Witches Road is playing in the background.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's just a really popular song.
Well, that's what they said, right? Like, at some point, ever since it was released, somebody has been listening to it. Because that's how Alice has stayed safe the whole time.
Like, what would you equate that to in this world? That like a song at any point somebody's listening to it, but a vintage song.
Yeah, I don't like, maybe like Don't Stop Believing,
right?
Or like a Michael Jackson song, maybe,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, don't get me wrong, it's a banger, but like that's a certified 5-time platinum banger if it's if it's keeping everybody safe, you know. Good for her though. Yeah.
So he's looking, and I thought this point also kind of mirrored the first episode. This felt very like true crime-esque, and
he goes on like witch Google or something.
Right. It was really funny. He finds Agatha in a bunch of history moments, which I thought was cool. Like, he sees her through all these things, and including this like the real Jolene, and just like kind of goofy.
Funny. He like reverse image search. My favorite was he ended up just on like Dark Wiki.
Right.
Because it was like Agatha's the only known survivor of the Witches Road. And then it had a citation. I'm like, where's your source for this? Like, what are you doing? Where are we right now? But it was fine. Like, it didn't take me out of it. I just thought that was really goofy.
And it says she's the only known survivor of the Witches Road, which was your question last week. If she was the only one or not, which I think further kind of proves your point about this
because she
prophecy
said
deal.
2 last time, right? Like she has told the group that 2 people made it out.
Her and another person.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing is Rio, but it might not be Rio.
Who knows?
Because I don't know. So when
I don't know. I could still fully believe that she never did it.
I could totally believe that too.
And maybe just like killed everybody else except that one person who
and
got
people,
away.
Right. And people felt like.
And then she got super powerful, right?
Or like started this rumor, got the Darkhold in a different way, right? Yeah, I could totally believe she's a liar. Because I also think we've kind of...
she's a liar.
Well, that's true as well. I also think we've established that her reputation of like when she killed her coven and stuff like that, there's more to the story. So I feel like... See what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited to figure it out as we come to the culminating end of this series.
This gives him the idea to travel the witch's road, and he wants to get Agatha to do it. He wants to unspell her. So he must have, from this crash, from becoming Billy, had this idea that he was a witch, because he has all of these, like the spell book and right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's just sort of been like deep diving, like waking up as another person, and then sort of just like let him down. You know, if he's meeting seedy Reddit characters,
right?
You know, I'm sure he's looked up
or mind reading and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he probably feels like connected to the idea of witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
So this release spell is going to require a personal item, which this was fun. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to break in. Let's do it. And he's in the car and he's texting with his boyfriend. And Eddie says, "You're my heart." And he has a black heart emoji.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was like,
was good.
Okay, so is that supposed to be, is the black heart that Lilia wrote in episode 2 supposed to be him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because it could have also been Sharon and WandaVision, the episode where they had the calendar of what they were going to do. That episode was a black heart, right? So I think they're doing this on purpose. Yeah. They're like really trying to make you wonder who it is.
That, and like Rio said, she had a black heart in one of the episodes. I think that's cool.
Very cool. So he breaks in, but before he does, we see this window shot of the exact dialogue from episode 1, but we don't see Rio. They don't show us Rio. They don't show us Rio in this whole episode.
I know.
There's specific moments, and I think that's definitely on purpose.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I'm almost wondering if next week it's going to be like Rio's episode, right? Where we learn about, we got
to figure out where she is. She's been MIA for like 2 full episodes now.
Well, this episode and then like the chunk of last episode.
Yeah.
You know?
I count that as a full episode.
Okay. So I don't know. And he's looking through all her stuff and he finds the locket. And then we see the chase scene again, but it's like the real thing that happened. And they're actually just both bad. Because in Agatha's vision of it, he was like a delinquent and was actually good at like
this like parkour pro.
Right. And was like pushing her and he jumped off the thing. And it's like so goofy because he's not good at it either. Like he falls down. He's like, ow, that hurt. And she falls. Well, and he's like, let me help you. And she's like, please. And they're running and she gets a cramp. And he's like, I'll stop if you stop. It just got really goofy from here and I loved it.
I remember that too because I remember like, oh, he gets hit by a car and it's just like the door opens and he like runs into the door a little bit. Like, that's really funny to me.
And Kitty was not like, let me help. She was like, hooligan. Oh, you're right. Sorry. I wrote Kitty in my notes from that 70s show. But Miss Davis, Sharon, was like, hooligan, which was so funny.
So good. So good to see her again.
I know. Miss her.
Yeah, this episode made me like the dialogue in the first episode much better. Like I didn't realize walking in that it was going to be every episode is like a parody / homage to something else. So I thought that was like the dialogue. So I was like, oh God. You know?
I thought it made so much more sense what was happening in the first episode now. I thought it was funny and goofy in the first episode, but this was like
I just remember thinking like this is really hammy. And I'm like, clearly, yes.
Right.
Like my brain did not keep up with what the writers were doing, which is just really funny.
This was really, really funny because in her version, he was this like sassy teen and you know, and like a delinquent teen who's hiding stuff. And in this version, he's like please don't hurt me. Like he's like
he's kind of
himself.
sarcastic.
Yeah.
What was it? The pen got me. She keeps clicking the pen on and off. And he's like, it's going to work. It's not going to work now. It's going to work. It's not going to work.
That's so funny. And she like kicks him.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he's doing less than she thinks and she's doing more than she thinks. Like she's moving really slow and like saying words really slowly.
And she has
really
that like
the kick
toy
really
gun.
Got me.
The kick was really funny because in the episode 1, she kicks him to the ground.
Yeah.
So she imagined that. And Rhea was also not here for this, but she was there in episode 1. Their chemistry was so good. The two of them are so good together.
Absolutely.
Do you know the poke the bear line that I'm talking about? She was like, you don't want to poke the bear.
I gotta think that was improvised.
I wrote that too. I'm so sure that was improvised because he was like, I'm not gonna poke the bear. She was like, you're poking the bear. I don't want to poke the bear. I don't want to poke the bear. That was so funny. I'm wondering if the pen thing was improvised too.
I'm wondering. Yeah, they just like had bullet points.
Yeah.
And that's sorry.
Well, no, it just felt so natural and silly, and they were both like so in character. It felt improvised.
Yeah. And
in a good way.
I wrote this down earlier, and I don't want this to seem like the rest of the show is in any way worse, but I liked how character focused this episode was. Like, I felt like there were no real gimmicks happening. Like, all of these scenes were just like pure character interactions because we weren't in this magic world where stuff was happening. We weren't a group bickering, which is fun. There wasn't really any magic happening.
Right.
You know? Like that interrogation scene was just like genuinely very funny, and it was held just on those performances, which I really liked. Even like, I feel like they backed off of the super creative cinematography and stuff, like purposefully to sort of ground us in this not witchy world for this episode. And I think it was such a refreshing change of pace, which like when you have something good, to know when to like cut it off for a second is just another like, I seriously think this is one of the most synergized teams making media right now.
It's crazy. It's so good. And I feel like this idea that it gets funnier when the people from the magic world come into Teen's life, that's like such a streamlined thought process.
It's like The Color and Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Like, it's so good.
Because it's not necessarily funny. It's like pretty sad. But when he gets these answers and things like this, it starts getting goofy and funny like we know the show to be.
Yeah. And we know that like from horror movies that don't do well and like just Halloween in general, like you can't take your witch magic worshipy stuff that seriously, right? Especially in a Marvel linked property. And I feel like they strike a total balance because I'm genuinely fearful of like witchcraft, right? Like that shit is scary. But at the same time, I know everybody's like goofy having a good time, you know?
Right? So he brings up the witch's road. And then he says, I feel like you've typecast me as a mouthy teen who didn't actually do it, which I was like, that's like exactly what was happening. That's so funny. And this is when she like starts breaking, kind of realizing where she is, and he's pointing things out. And it's just funny to see how from her perspective, or from Teen's perspective, like this scene just continued to be funny. Yeah. And he starts doing this spell. And I'm thinking this has got to be the first spell he's tried. Do you disagree?
I was curious about that.
Because he seemed very confident.
Yeah, because he has a little book. I don't know how many things he has written. I'm wondering how, like, because it looks like he hasn't trained at all. So, like, when he literally took over two witches' minds, like, he's so naturally strong, just being, like, Wanda's kid, which is crazy. But, yeah, I don't think he's done much. Like, I think he's looked into runes. I think he's copied spells. I don't know if he's tried anything, though.
And if he has... Well,
not near the level that
he just did. Well, because Agatha even says it in episode 1.
Yeah.
And they repeat it in this episode, I think.
Yeah. But again, I feel like you can get away with that for sure. Like family magic can trump family magic, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But Agatha says like you must be powerful.
Yeah.
For you to undo the Scarlet Witch's spell.
For sure. I just think it's really cool.
Might have been a clue to her that it was Wanda's kid. And this was something else. He doesn't have the black fingers, right? His fingers didn't have the like sign of chaos magic, which I thought was interesting because that just means Agatha came up with that. And people were wondering what that meant. Has he been practicing magic? Is he have sort of like nefarious purposes and been doing chaos magic? So it's interesting to see that she was just putting something from Wanda onto him and like her past and like what witchcraft is onto him. And it also might have been just supposed to be a clue for us of what we're supposed to think of him. She ties him up and puts him in the closet, and he says he doesn't want to go back into the closet. Like, it's still just goofy, and these lines are really funny.
Yeah.
And we start getting these sort of like snippets of the time passing of what they're doing. And the last one...
How long do you think they've been gone, by the way?
Not very long at all.
Right?
I think it's been like 2 days.
Time works different.
Oh.
Or...
Well, because they get there.
Yeah.
They do their first trial, which was the water one.
Yeah.
And it might have been the same day that they do the second one, the fire one.
Okay.
Because they rest that night. And then the next day they go into their third trial. So I'm guessing it's been 2-3 days.
Okay. Because I was just, this whole time I've been like, Eddie's got to be so worried.
I know.
What are his parents doing? They're calling the police. They're looking.
Right. But you're right. Time might move differently.
I don't know.
He says, I'm William Kaplan. And she's like, say again. He says, I'm Billy Maximoff. So he knew right here who he was. He's known he's Billy Maximoff at least, I guess, probably for this like last like amount of time. Do you see what I'm saying? He probably
since we like met him in the series.
I think since, well, yeah, exactly. I think probably since he heard about who Billy and Tommy were, because he had known who Tommy was. So I think the sigil, I think it's interesting because I thought he didn't know he was Billy Maximoff, but he did know, he just couldn't tell them. Yeah. So we cut back to Agatha on the Witch's Road, and she's crawling through the ground in the thick mud. It's kind of gross, and she like claws her way out basically, which I didn't think. I thought we were gonna like see them underground or something. Me too,
but it implied that Jen and Lily are dead now.
It did,
which is again like even without powers, Agatha's got to be so freaking strong. Right, because they've said that before. If you like leave the road, you're done. Right. And she's the only person who has done out of the three of them who like crawled back out, looking practically unscathed. Like she's muddy, but she's still like cracking jokes,
right? You know? It kind of looks like it hurt maybe, but not really, you know. I'm guessing. I feel like she's also very smart. Like she has a lot of knowledge because she is really old and had the dark hold. So I think that's part of it, because in these challenges she's always been the one to know what they need to do to get out. So Teen is holding this wooden block, the sigil in his hand. He breaks it, and Agatha and Teen then kind of have this like confrontation, which is the last bit of this episode, is them sort of like confronting each other, and she's kind of pissed. And he basically says, "Power doesn't interest me, and when did you figure it out?" And basically, Agatha kind of made it sound like she knew the whole time, which I think maybe she did, but didn't really want to admit it. She says that basically there's a tell between that both him and his mother have, and she doesn't tell him what that tell is. And I'm wondering if that's going to come back. But she said she wasn't sure until he basically used his magic. I
thought it was done really well. I like they sort of get to talking about how they're not the same and they're different and everything. And then this whole time, Agatha literally just being thrown to die into a pit. Is like standing up for him. He's like, don't you dare feel bad for taking over this person's body. You did what you did to survive. This is what witches do. And I was like, very effective. Like, clearly this relationship is actually strong. Like they do actually care for each other no matter how much they say they don't. 2, I think it's still really funny that Agatha is just not a redeemable character. She was like, you kill those innocent people. And she's like, I've killed my share. And it's just really funny. And she's so proud to live as this person. And it was great. Like, I don't know. This episode being focused on Teen was great. And I really liked Teen Wiccan Billy William. But it really made me realize, like, dang, Agatha is so funny. Agatha is so good in this show. It's so fun to watch. I like that a lot because it added this other layer to their relationship where basically they've both kind of just been lying and now they're both just like cool with it. You know, I don't like you. Let's go.
Well, because she even says it's nice to see you again. And when he realizes she can hear him, she like tears up a little bit. You know? Right? Did you get that?
Yeah.
It was really interesting. And that's when she kind of accuses Teen of killing Jen and Lilia, which I feel like they can't be. Maybe that's not true.
I think everybody else, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a everybody comes back kind of moment.
Apparently there was an interview with the creator, and the interviewer basically said Alice is dead. Alice is not coming back.
Really? They could be lying.
I mean, she really could be, but yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting. I mean, it's valid if they are gone. That's totally fine. It feels right that they all reunite.
Yeah, I
Once
agree.
they get over their grief and differences at the road, you know?
Right.
But the show has been nothing if not keeping me on my toes and making me second guess myself.
And her monologue was really cool. I agree. I think her sort of like hyping him up. And I think it also shows us a bit of who Agatha views herself as. Like, she kind of considers herself a survivor as well. And she basically says, like, that he shouldn't feel bad for what he's done. And I think that is really cool because I feel like that's how she sees herself.
Dealing with her grief.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very much like that is probably why she feels connected to him, because she sees herself in him, which is really cool. But his power fizzles out. He says he doesn't need her anymore, but his power fizzles out. And it looks like to me because he just doesn't know how to use it. He's never really used it before.
Agatha said something like, you need intense emotion to control it right now, which is cool that she can clock that fast.
Yeah.
You know, like just subtle things. Like, I do believe Agatha is like a real witch to be dealt. Like, she's for real, you know, which is cool.
And she figures out what he wants at the end of the road, and it not being Wanda or Vision, but it's actually his brother Tommy. But she literally goes, "You're after Toby." And I laughed out loud. That was funny.
That really got me.
And
like, she's such a mean person.
Right. It's really funny though. It's like well done because it's so good. It's always funny when she's mean, which makes her still be likable.
Yeah.
And he basically says, I don't trust you. Like, okay, fine, we can go on this journey together, but I don't trust you ever. And she's so funny. She's like using her hair as like an evil villain mustache and just very silly. And I'm so sure that was just her being her in character when they were filming. And she says, last one there's a nice person, because they agree to like continue on this journey together. And she walks away and he says, I'm not that nice. And he gets the like one-liner for the end of the episode. And that's it. The big thing for me in this scene was Rio was not there still.
Yeah.
In this part of which I'm like, okay, so we're gonna get where Rio was next episode, I guess.
Or she'll like come back.
Yeah.
You know? Because they said the next thing is gonna be a trial, I guess. And I feel like it's gonna be one of those. I don't think they won't be able to do it, because I was thinking like, oh, what if like they needed Lilia for this one or something, right? Where it's like they don't have the person.
Well, they don't have their divination witch if they don't have Lilia.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be something like that. I think this is like really where everything's going to turn, and everything that's been set up is going to be like foiled down.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting. I don't know. They are definitely going to do trials. Teen might just be able to do what Lilia needs to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know like what the end of the road is. Like, we know Glory, but like, is Tommy going to be there? Like, what does that mean? Is it going to give him the power to bring Tommy back? Like, travel universe, you know, like, and I'm excited to like theorize what that is, which is cool.
It is cool. So let's say Agatha never did walk the road. I don't think anything in the song implies that you actually get what you want from the road.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Like, the lyrics don't actually imply that when you get there, it says glory.
Yeah.
But that's it. And maybe I'm wrong. We can look it up.
I'll look it up.
And so I feel like if Agatha didn't walk the road, it's not going to be what we think. And honestly, maybe if she did, it won't be either, because I don't think she ever intended to walk the road in the first place. I feel like it was just a last minute grab to try to get these witches to fuel her up with their power. And the road opened and she like had to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it says, follow me, my friend, to glory at the end.
Does anywhere else say anything about like, you'll get what you want?
No, it just says like about the journey.
See? So I'm wondering if it even is going to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's just rumored that at the end of this road, you get what you want.
I don't know. Because the glory can be like, you're known as the person who did that. But I also feel like at the end could also imply like you will die when you get to the end of this road, you know? Mm-hmm. I also like it says, follow me, my friend, implying there's at least 2 people who need to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And it's singular, right? It's not friends. So I feel like them dying off and it's just the 2 of them, like, again, that's prophecy right there.
Yeah, true.
You know?
So some people thought Teen was the one who conjured the road himself, and that's why it like took time to open. Okay. And that's what he was doing when the Salem 7 were like coming to attack, and he was moving furniture and stuff. Okay. I don't know if that's true because I think we would have seen that here. So I don't think he did that. Yeah. I feel like who Teen is and what he's done, that's all been laid bare. Like we know Teen now.
Yeah, they also said they needed like a coven to do it. And like, I don't know. I feel like if it's a coven rule, like I don't even think Wanda could probably just bring the road herself, right? The whole point is that it has to be multiple people.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I do think it was the crew.
I think so too.
But yeah, really cool. Really cool. This was the perfect time for a flashback episode. I learned what I wanted to learn. I have more questions I want answered.
Right. I'm also just like, oh, I so badly hate the week to week. And I was trying to figure out if maybe it would be getting stronger reviews on IMDb if it wasn't week to week. Mm-hmm. I think it's silly that it's not getting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think each episode does a good job of packing enough in though. Like I'm never upset. I'm never like, I waited a week for this. It's always, I wish I could keep watching.
No, I so agree.
Which is cool. I also think their recaps are really well done. Very concise, you know?
Yes.
Which helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power has an 8 out of 10, which is good. I think that's the highest one.
Which was the last episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before that, they're all in the 7s, it looks like.
Okay, I mean, people are saying it's bad, but...
I mean, some people are. Just 7 feels really low. 7.5, 7.2 feels low. This one got an 8.4.
It could, like, more reviews could trickle in. It came out, like, yesterday, right?
Yeah.
That's right. We're on the breaking edge of these. Do you think, like, Billy learned, like, Judaism?
I was wondering that, too, because I was like, okay, so Billy's not Jewish, but I'm guessing
William
he just...
is,
right. And he just, like, assimilated into this world.
Well, I was like, I'm glad that happened right after his bar mitzvah, where he had to memorize the Torah section. Like, that'd be embarrassing if you were like, hey, I don't, what?
Really, yeah.
Guess it all worked out in the end. Also, cool metaphor, like becoming a man, transition, all that.
Same day, cool.
Well done.
I agree. Really cool. Well done.
It was so good we didn't talk about it because it's so obvious. But it was great.
Okay, I have a quote. It's short. Agatha says to Teen, life goes on. Yours anyways. Which I just think is funny. Like, she could be nicer at this moment. She's choosing to be sassy. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I'd be pretty angry, too, if I was in her situation.
And it's cool. And I feel like that's a really concise way of saying all the stuff earlier. Like, you survive. That's what we do. That's the point of it. Just cool. Really cool. Love the balance between like legitimate, serious moments and like emotional hits with sprinkling the comedy as we got more into the witch atmosphere.
It's also cool because in the last episode at the end, I feel like Agatha has slowly started sort of gaining ground on becoming a bit of a better person and becoming actually caring for someone in Teen, you know?
Yeah.
And we saw at the end of that episode her completely just utterly obliterate any progress she's made, you know? And it was cool to see her walk into this, the person she was exactly in episode 1, because she's chosen this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then to see that fracture in moments, right? Like when she's like kind of crying when the sigil's gone, you know? Or when like her being kind of rude and saying this life goes on, yours anyways is rude, but then she goes on that whole tangent about how about how he's a survivor and that's what witches do. And that's how they've survived for centuries and what keeps you alive. And I just think it's cool to see these moments where she's trying really hard to stay this person she is, but then it fractures because she does really care and she does really feel connected to this kid.
Yeah. I agree.
Anything else you want to say about the episode?
I don't think so. Another banger. Loved it. There are 9 episodes.
Yeah, but 8 and 9 are going to come out together.
Cool.
So 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks of Agatha All Along.
And
I'm
spooky
sad to see it go,
I'm
but I'm
sad
excited to see it end. Oh my goodness. This has been a really fun ride. Speaking of fun rides, we've really appreciated all the interaction we got. Can we give another shout out to the comment we read?
Okay. The comment that I read earlier was Sorceress Ultimisia 5238. So really cool. Thank you for telling us about witchcraft. It's really interesting. Other people have been answering our questions. Makes me think that the show has someone on board who's been sort of helping them with knowledge because it seems knowledgeable in witchcraft. Really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And we love to hear the two of us talk about the shows, but we love even more talking with you all in comment sections and message boards and all those things. So please keep interacting with us. Tell us what you thought of the show, of our takes of the show. Based on whatever you're listening to this on, like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, all that good stuff. It helps spread the word to more people and get more people talking about this awesome show. I'm Alex.
I'm Madison.
And this has been Welcome to the Writer's Room. See you next time.